This young man on the outside is a normal high school student. But when he's truly serious, he is no different from a demon ruthless killing people as if killing ants. Only because since he was 5 years old, he has already been the living legend of Death Island. Must know the thing called Death Island originally is a place for training newly born children to become cold-blooded assassins. After undergoing the harsh training process, they will be sold to rich people as adopted children. Because of being trained since childhood, they will obey anything that the buyer requests, even if it's suicide. And Baron, who is called the living legend of Death Island alone, he has completed almost 99% of the missions given. But during one mission, he accidentally escaped from this organization and became an ordinary high school student. But just think that's it. Because of a mistake, revealed his location, causing the Island of Death to send countless assassins came to catch him. Let's get to the main point. Did he escape in the end? Leave this damn organization to live a normal life? Let's get to the main point. Chapter 1. Ely is whimpering and crying loudly. All of the children here are obedient. They could be seen as angels existing in this world. But not everyone who wishes can become their parent. A person approaches. The bulky man holding a cigar said, "Child, from today I will be your father, because all children here are educated with a special method. Thus to raise them also requires special parents. So the question raised is, what is the special educational method here?" Indeed, speaking, this is truly a special educational method. Rachel gently said to the kids, "All right, children." Suddenly she turned abruptly, clasped her hands, praying, changing her attitude. "Stop it." The kids took out their weapons, obeying Rachel's words. It's time for practice. The children held things like darts, wire strings, looking really inappropriate for their age. She used her hand to wipe Ely's face, saying, "Ely, when you pretend to cry, you don't need to have a runny nose like that." Rachel spoke darkly, glaring at the little girl. "Children who are too weak won't be liked by their parents." Ely tilted her head, glancing at her. "I remember." The mortuary director stood observing from the glass window above. He said, "In any situation, any circumstance, these kids always have classes to exchange their talents. They were trained as weapons right from the time they learned to walk. All were thoroughly raised with extremely strict discipline. Thus the money poured in to educate them isn't cheap at all. The question is, what can these children be used for? Simply put, they're like a computer. They can be used for many things depending on their parents. A fat hand placed on a small pair of legs. This is the target. Remember this person's face. The fat guy just now showed the child he bought a photo instructing. But because these children are extremely dangerous, therefore, to control them, we have established a safety measure for them. Those are the rules deeply imprinted in their subconscious, and those rules they absolutely can't break. We call them the 3 absolute principles that must be obeyed. Eden, sitting on the departing car with the fat guy, looked at the picture in his hand and said, "Father, behind us, there's a car chasing us." The guy snorted, raising his eyebrow, and asked, What are you talking about, kid?" Then the fat guy got annoyed, turning the boy's head to look at the picture, shouting loudly, "Shut up and memorize this name for me." Eden could only mechanically obey. "Yes, I understand that's Father's command. The first law, everything the parent says, is a command that must be obeyed." The guy didn't know a car from behind was rushing forward. Not long after, the black car behind crashed directly into his car's rear. His car flipped several times on the ground. Eden horrifyingly looked at the person next to him. Second is not allowed to act without the parent's consent. He slowly lifted the guy's hand, feeling the pulse. From the car behind, 2 men stepped out carrying guns. They approached and fired several shots at the damaged car. Eden screamed and cried, "Help my father! My father can't breathe anymore, please!" The mushroom-headed guy among the 2 said after hearing this, "Damn, was I informed there was a kid in the car." That guy ignored. "Forget it. Let's finish it off." The other protested but was objected to by the bearded guy. "What are you saying?" "Anyway, it's just a kid, leave it there." And most importantly, the mushroom-headed guy came up and called Eden little kid. "I'm sorry, that's something we must do." As soon as he finished speaking, he was attacked by the boy in the neck, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Thirdly, in case parents are in danger. He took the gun from his hand. The bearded man standing afar noticed something strange. Here Eden was aiming the gun at the remaining guy. You can bypass the 2 above rules to try to save your parents and escape. A bullet pierced between his eyebrows, blood spurted out everywhere. The mortuary director, holding a book, said they are all obedient and compliant children. He revealed his metallic teeth in invitation. So what do you think? Do you intend to buy a child here? He turned the book around reading something. But this child is a bit unfortunate. Then he pulled out from the cabinet a pile of documents saying, that child is slightly different. You could say a child with some errors in education. Flipping open a page showing the picture of a child, the hospital director said, although this child has the greatest potential and skills among all the children we trained, I really love this child. However, we've lost this child. You could also say it's gone missing. At this point, he frowned, hand clenched tightly. We've tried to track down the child's whereabouts, but since the child can no longer use its power due to having no parents, thus it is very difficult for us to locate this child. Perhaps might even be dead. On a crowded street, a punch rushed forward, hitting straight into Yunho's stomach. The guy in the gray hoodie bent down, asking, how's it receiving that punch? Fully must hurt a lot, right, Yunho? He muttered softly. Bastard. Joseph behind him asked again, are you trying to say something, Yunho? Hyunho didn't notice anyone behind, instinctively repeating, bastard. Suddenly, Hyunho realized something was wrong, immediately changing his attitude, praising him. No, I meant your punch is worth 18,000 points. That punch is really something I can't handle. A guy said, you said that punch is 18,000 points. Isn't that exaggerating? Another fat guy also spoke up. Indeed, he's not exaggerating with a punch like that. It's terrifying enough, nothing strange about 18,000 points. Yunho cursed silently. Truly a bunch of bastards. Joseph said, all right, let's see how many points this kick gets, and suddenly Sion rushed in, interrupting. He approached, pretending to punch Hyunho. Look, how many points is my punch? Tell me, Hyunho, how's my punch? He just looked silently without saying anything. Hyunho cursed. Damn it, Sion asked him. Then did I also get 18,000 points? He replied. No, you bastard. Provoking voices from afar by the noisy crowd. Hey, Sion, that bastard, Hyunho just cursed you. That Hyunho bastard wants to die. He didn't care much, said it's okay. Maybe he's having a bad day, hence some mistakes. Hyunho looked at him thinking, you bastard Sion, I could kill someone like you with just one punch. Joseph approached him. Hey Sion, what do you think you're doing? He slapped Sion's face. An arrogant, challenging attitude. I hit him. Why are you meddling in my business? Do you even understand what I'm saying? He clenched his fist, saying, oh my God, Joseph. Sion showed no discomfort, instead, holding his face and laughing. I think my jaw is dislocated now. Your punch must be worth 15,000 points. International students really are different. Whatever they do is also unique. He lifts weights up to 500 kilos. Do you guys even know? He felt quite pleased seeing his attitude. Joseph turned away and ordered Sion. Hey idiot, buy me a pack of cigarettes. Later he replied, all right, you just go. I'll buy it for you in a bit. When he was far enough, he immediately said, all right, next time I will defeat you, Joseph. It seems speaking English with these guys feels pretty good, huh? Hyunho looked at the person in front of him with disgust, thinking, this guy really just knows how to rely on others. Sion put an arm around him. Hey, Hyunho. Then he used one hand to headlock Hyunho. Why did you dare curse me earlier, huh? He cursed internally. This guy really must be asking to die. He immediately threatened. You must follow me today or else you'll get beaten up, understand? Hyunho looked at this person full of confusion. Sion was concentrating on eating rice cakes, but didn't forget to mutter, later, be sensible and send the money here. I have to buy cigarettes for that bastard. Hyunho flatly replied, all right, but inside, he wasn't happy at all. Truly a bastard. Sion took a napkin wiping his mouth and glanced at him. Huh, are you regretting your money? You listen to everything Joseph says, but not me. Huh, Hyunho denied. It's not like that. Suddenly he asked, but this place is named after you, huh? That's really awesome, huh? Hyunho stammered. This place belongs to my mother. His mother brought out a bowl of fish cakes, happily saying, you're Hyunho's friend. Then eat plenty, okay? Sion talked while eating. So you're the owner of this place, is that why you named it like that? Hyunho hesitantly replied, yes indeed, this is my mom's place. He silently thought, it really sucks wanting to live quietly, yet keep getting involved in nonsense matters that can't be avoided, and now this bastard discovered my family's shop. Sion licked his lips, saying, so that's how it is, as if thinking of something interesting, said, Hyunho, if this is your family's place, then how can I overlook it? He had an uneasy feeling. What is he planning to do? His hand below already clicked open a pen. If you dare touch my mother, you better watch out. Seon called out, "Excuse me, Auntie." He quickly turned around, raised the pen to attack Seon, not anticipating what Seon was about to say. "Since I didn't know you're his mother, I haven't greeted you properly yet. I'm Seon, hello, Auntie." "Right, so this place is yours, named after him. No wonder the name sounded so unique." Suddenly Hyunho froze. His mother seemed very happy, replying, "It's no surprise you found it strange since I named it after Yunho." Seon chimed in as well. "Your mom works so hard, yet you don't even help her out." Hyunho sighed in relief. "All right, I have to send this guy away quickly or he'll bother my mom." He stepped forward, saying to his mother, "We have to leave now, some friends at school are waiting for us." She replied, "Is that so?" tying up the food bag, saying, "All right." Handing him 2 black bags, she asked, "How many friends are at your school? I'll pack some rice cakes for you to bring to your friends." Hyunho felt a bit awkward. "Mom, you don't need to do that." Meanwhile, Seon enthusiastically said, "Are you really giving me this? Your mom is really generous." "That's right, our house sells them, so there's still plenty." Seon knew how to please adults very well. "You're giving me so much it makes me feel embarrassed." Hyunho's mom said, "You don't need to worry, just take it comfortably, Mom. You really don't need to do that." His mom smiled brightly. "Hyunho's friends must all be good people, so please take it. It's not like what you think, Mom." Seon replied, "Thank you very much." "They aren't like what you're thinking, they're all bad people." He looked at the black bag and said, "Thank you very much." Hyunho pulled his hand, saying, "Hey, Seon." He pleaded, "You must not tell Joseph nor any of the others, please." Seon reassured. "All right, don't worry, I won't say anything. I'll leave now." "Thank you very much," Hyunho's mom called after him. "Bring your friends here next time." Seon cheerfully replied, "Yes, I'll definitely bring my friends next time." Hyunho's tense sweat covered his face. Waiting until Seon left, he asked Mom, "Why did you do that? It really can't be like this." He loudly shouted, "I already told you to ignore it and not let anyone know you're related to me. I already said that. How could I speak loudly to Mom like that?" It's not Mom's fault. She was a bit awkward and softly said, "It's because it was the first time Mom met your friend, so I accidentally forgot." She clenched her hand, saying, "I'm sorry. What am I doing? Why does Mom have to apologize to me?" She hoped Hyunho would calm down. "I just wanted you to be closer to your school friends, that's why I did that. I'm really sorry, Mom, don't apologize like this. If you keep saying that I will, A rag fell into the bowl of rice cakes, someone shouted. "Oh damn, what the hell is this?" A guy pulled the rag out from the food bowl in front of Hyunho. Joseph looked with contempt. "Is this the rice cake your mom made? I bought it out of curiosity. But look, what's this? Can this be called a rag? Why is it in the food?" He shoved the rag in Hyunho's face. "Can this thing even be eaten, huh? Hyunho, can I get my money back?" Suddenly, he said something surprising. "Perhaps I should visit your mom's shop to demand a refund. I'll just say it like this. Hello, I'm Hyunho's friend." "That bastard Seon, I begged him not to tell anyone." Hyunho darkly said, "Friends, is someone like that? Even my friend." Hearing that, Joseph darkened his face. "Hyunho, are you angry? Friends need to get along." Then he took the bowl of rice cakes and turned it upside down on Hyunho's head, mocking, "If you behave like this, your mom will be sad, understand?" He tightly clenched the pen in his hand. Joseph saw Hyunho's action. Suddenly, he rushed forward, intending to stab his neck with the pen. Hyunho recalled his mother's words from yesterday. "Mom only wanted you to be closer to your friends. That's why, Mom, please don't be angry at me." Suddenly, he froze, not wanting to strike. Joseph watched his action with a cold gaze. Hyunho bit his lip, his hand holding the pen trembling. The whole class silently stared at him. Hyunho was silent. Joseph spoke up. "What the hell are you trying to do, bastard?" He leaned his hands on the table. His face twisted frighteningly. "Are you trying to kill me?" Seon entered from outside, calling Hyunho you. Suddenly he fell silent. The classroom was filled with deadly silence. There were several policemen in the classroom. A pair of glasses lay in a pool of blood. Seon stood frozen in place, not knowing what to do. That day, Hyunho was beaten brutally for 15 minutes. He regained consciousness in pain. While being beaten, he repeatedly begged for mercy. Yet that bastard still didn't spare him, and no one in the class stopped him. Finally, the one who ended that violence turned out to be Hyunho when he was no longer able to resist. In an abandoned room, someone said, "I have an idea." Joseph, holding a cigarette, said, "What happened to Hyunho? Just consider it a joke that went too far. That's why he ended up like this." You guys understand what I'm saying. Another guy said, but we didn't do anything to him. But Joseph interrupted him. Hey, just listen when I'm talking. He stood up, holding a piece of paper. In Korea, there's the juvenile law. It'll be fine. I've already asked my dad. You guys know that law, right? He showed the paper to them and said, I've repeated a grade for 1 year already, so I can't afford to commit any more offenses. That's why I'm asking you guys for a small favor. Then, he shoved the paper towards one guy, ordering, You go to the police station and confess that you were the one who did this to Hyunho. You got it. The guy hesitated. Even though we know about the juvenile law, we might still get caught up in other laws. Joseph patted his shoulder. Don't worry, we'll find a way. Just listen to me. Everything will be fine. They appeared very unwilling. He smirked slyly. If no one files a complaint, nothing will happen, right? Joseph lightly kicked a suitcase on the ground. Even if you get detained, it'll still be fine. Seeing they were still hesitant, he quickly added, All right, I'm not asking you to do it for free. Inside the suitcase, numerous stacks of money spilled out. Joseph casually said, Here, how about 10 million won each? Finally, he asked again, Does anyone else know Hyunho's house? Tell me. Hyunho's mother appeared, haggard, tears streaming down her face. She sat blankly staring into space. At an apartment building, Osep, wearing a black mask, turned back, asking a guy behind, Hey, say it again. What floor is he on? That guy replied, It's the 5th floor. The elevator was descending to the 5th floor. The guy in the gray shirt impatiently said, Why is this elevator stuck here for so long? It's not moving. He also lost patience, so called the others. Let's take the stairs. Joseph went first, urging, Hurry up, let's finish this quickly. As soon as he stepped higher, he saw a fire extinguisher. It was used to block the elevator door. The elevator was stuck by it, so it couldn't close. Joseph saw that and asked, What the hell? From the staircase, someone spoke. Why did you guys arrive just now? He looked up to the place where the voice came from. Sion, wearing a hat and coat, sitting on the stairs, said, You've made me wait for a while. Joseph turned and asked him, Sion, what are you doing there? Another guy invited. Come with us. He stood up saying, I'll ask directly, how did you guys find out about Hyunho's rice cake shop? Only I knew, right? Joseph pulled his mask down, smirking. Is that so? I told you to buy cigarettes, you never came back. I went looking and saw you eating rice cakes with the kids. That's why I followed, and I saw Hyunho was arguing with his mom there. Sion lowered his head. Walking down, said, So it was my fault then. Listen carefully to this next question and answer clearly. Understand. He continued asking, What are you guys doing here? On his shoulder was a long iron rod, half joking, half serious. He asked Sion, You see and still don't know. He loudly announced, To teach that woman a lesson for daring to file a lawsuit against me. What else? Joseph glanced at Sion, changing his attitude. Anyway, since you're here, it's killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I've been irritated by you for a long time anyway. You were just pretending to bully Hyunho. Just to satisfy me, isn't that right? Actually, you went there to solve Rachel's issue. Thinking about Sion deceiving him made him furious. You've underestimated me too much. He bent down, picking up the fire extinguisher at the elevator door. All right, I understand. Joseph rushed forward, screaming, Now die, idiot. Sion calmly said, Thanks for answering my question. He pulled the fire extinguisher's pin, holding the hose and spraying it toward them. Although I've somewhat guessed already, I still needed confirmation first. Joseph was sprayed in the face by the extinguisher and immediately stepped back. He cursed, What the hell, hurry up and stop him. The fire extinguisher suddenly flew toward the gray-shirted guy's face. Sion threw it directly into that guy's face, making him fall backward onto Joseph, dragging both of them down the stairs. He angrily pushed that guy away. Get away, you idiots, you're blocking me too much. He stood up, grabbed the rod, and advanced up the stairs, preparing to strike. Seeing him, Sion immediately grabbed the fire extinguisher and cursed bastard. He calmly held the fire extinguisher, aimed it toward him, then sprayed. Then suddenly he rushed forward, smashing the fire extinguisher directly onto Joseph's leg. Joseph widened his eyes in pain. He fell backward, screaming, My leg is broken, bastard! How dare you do this to me, my leg! He calmly walked down. All right, I've broken your kneecap now. Now it'll be difficult for you to walk. He held his leg, screaming in pain. Joseph angrily shouted, You crazy bastard, what are you doing? Sion pulled down his hat and slowly said, There are 3 rules every child must remember. First, always obey your parent. Second, he raised a fist, punching Joseph in the face. He punched him, forcing his face down onto the ground. He continued, Not allowed to act without parental permission. The other guys scrambled to their feet, frightened. He grabbed my neck. He said, and the last important thing, especially Joseph with a swollen face and begging, "Forgive me, I know I'm wrong." He clenched his fist. Third, when a parent is in danger, use any means to save them, disregarding the two above rules. He remembered what Hyunho's mother said. Hyunho's friends are also my friends. Lift your feet up. What does that mean? You guys are in danger, my mother, so I will beat you to death. Then, stomping down hard, he asked, "You guys understand what I'm saying, right?" At a large villa in the evening, there was a voice. "Yes, please, come in." Rachel held the phone, saying to the mortuary director, "Sir, there's a call from South Korea." He asked, "Who is it?" She replied, "It's the director of the Korean branch." Turn around, and he said, "Give me the phone." The mortuary director spoke, "I'm listening from the other end. It seems we've found it. The lost child. Its code name is Sean in South Korea." Mortuary. The Weapon Training Project Obedient Child Code Name Sean. Chapter 2. Children with light green eyes full of cruelty, that code name Sean. Please, among children trained by Morgue, he is the greatest masterpiece working undercover. Excellent weapon skills and assassination skills above all others. It's a product on a completely different level in every aspect. Therefore, it should have been sent to a Yakuza family, cherry blossom petals fluttering at their estate, reportedly a major family in Japan. However, due to some mistake, the statue image stone holding a book of writing in hand symbolized something. It was sent to South Korea instead. Seon, confused, looked at the man staring intently at the statue and fearfully asked, "Excuse me." The mortuary director sighed. It's been 5 years since then. I had given up accepting it had completely vanished. But God has indeed not forgotten me. He revealed his shining gold and silver teeth. Oh God, I didn't expect you'd send him back to me. So find him at any cost. He ordered the person sitting opposite Rachel. The woman he called had a large scar on her forehead. Her hair, silver white eyes cold, replied, "Yes, I understand." She continued, "If necessary, I'll use force to bring him back here, sir." Underneath her nun attire were heavy weapons and a tight-fitting uniform resembling that of a special agent. He looked at her helplessly. "What are you saying?" "Bring him back without injuring him too much and leave the guns behind. This is going too far after being reminded she could only awkwardly pick up her things." Elsewhere, a man bowed his head, saying, "I apologize for not raising my son properly. I'll take responsibility for Hyunho's mental treatment expenses." People around stared at him as if he were a strange creature. Only the woman in the stall continued her work. He kept apologizing and offering any compensation to her, but she spoke up. "Nothing can be changed because this isn't something that can just end with a few half-hearted apologies." Hearing her words, he seemed to fall silent, and those around them quickly left, not wanting to get involved in the matter. He looked up, his gaze dark and hollow, staring at her. "Is that so? Fine, then I'll be going." Without hesitation, he turned and left swiftly. She watched him, startled. "What, you're just leaving like that?" He covered his nose with a handkerchief, his face darkened as he looked at Hyunho's mother. "I believe that efficiency is the most important thing in everything we do. But since you don't even consider negotiating, I have no reason to waste any more time." She said nothing, but her gaze revealed everything. He stepped into a luxurious black car and looked at her. "I have many other options. Besides, those things are my specialty." His face twisted into a distorted grin as he laughed maniacally. The car sped down the road, his voice filled with mockery. "My nose itches from all that dust and stench. How can she even run a business in a place like that? Just demolish the area and build a new commercial district instead. The kid, what's his condition? Have you taken care of him?" The light from outside cast an eerie glow on his face. The driver replied, "Yes, Assistant O is handling it. He should be finished and calling you any moment now." He gazed out the car window, his expression dark as he pondered something. At a certain hospital, a teenage boy lay on a hospital bed, his face covered in bruises, one leg broken. He gritted his teeth. "That bastard, I knew there was something strange about him." Joseph shouted at the nurse. He said something about 3 principles that are engraved within him. Byung-gu glanced at the nurse. 3 principles. Is that some kind of trend among kids these days? The boy responded, "I'm not sure either." After saying that, he suddenly, before he could say anything else, Byung-gu cut him off, raising a hand toward the nurse. Wait. Could you give us a moment in private? It won't take long." The nurse left the room. Joseph immediately sat up and glared at him. That bastard's father! Before he could finish, Byung-gu slapped him across the face. Still dazed, he heard the man's calm voice. Joseph, do you know what makes me the angriest? Whether you bullied that kid or made him jump from the classroom window, I don't care about any of that. If you had already brought the stuff to his house to end everything, you should have handled it cleanly. Byung-gu threatened as he looked at his son. His face darkened, and he pointed at Joseph with a smile. The basic rule of work is never to make the same mistake twice. Joseph, you should take this opportunity as a lesson. This is how adults handle things. Seon was struck hard in the chest and fell to the ground. Surrounding him were men dressed in black, just like bodyguards. The one who had kicked him wore black gloves and ordered his subordinates to help him up. Seon gasped for breath and looked at the man. What are you doing? Immediately, a slap landed straight on his face. His backpack was thrown to a corner covered in scratches. Seon lay on the ground, his body covered in wounds without making a single sound. Assistant. Oh looked at him and asked, Things didn't go as you planned, did they? Just like when you beat up 4 kids your age. The man removed his gloves and glared at Seon, his expression grim. But that won't work on adults like us. He threw his gloves at Seon, who was still lying on the ground. Assistant O continued speaking. At that moment, one of the bodyguards grabbed Seon's arm. The young master is now paralyzed because of you. So you should. Seon's arm was pulled up high. He suddenly realized what was about to happen to him. The man adjusted his glasses and moved his foot towards Seon's arm, continuing, You should apologize right, immediately after a heavy stomp landed. Seon's eyes widened in shock and a painful scream echoed through the air. Assistant O looked at him and warned, This is how adults handle things, kid. By the time they all left, the sky had begun to darken. Seon looked at his arm, then used a firm motion to set it back in place. He sneered, So this is how adults handle things. What a bunch of idiots. You fools don't even know the difference between a broken bone and a dislocated joint. This kind of thing is nothing compared to Rachel's training. He rotated his arm while staring at his trembling hand, deep in thought. But things have gotten more complicated. I can't use my full strength without permission because of the 3 principles. Anyway, this should be enough to calm things down. He grabbed his backpack, then tiredly walked away from that place. If not, I'll have to get a new identity, but that would be too much trouble. At that moment, an elderly woman appeared out of nowhere and cautiously asked, Seon. She was holding a trash bag full of food scraps. It's me, but... Why do you look like that? Seon broke into a sweat looking at her. He greeted her politely while cursing internally. Things just got even more complicated. He picked up a fork and stabbed it into the food on his plate. Seon remained silent. The woman let out a small laugh and carried out more dishes, continuously comforting him. Seon, you don't have to be so reserved. It's fine. You should eat more. Eat a lot. Seon's face turned slightly pale when he heard those words. It reminded him of how Hyunho's mother acted like his own parent in his subconscious mind. Right after that, he ate hungrily, following her words exactly. Hyunho's mother kept reminding him, You'll choke if you eat too fast. Drink some water. Seon took a deep gulp of water at her words. Yes, he replied. He set the glass down on the table. His stomach bloated as if he were pregnant. He let out a deep breath. Thank you for the meal. The woman was slicing kimbap while chatting with him. Seeing you like this makes me really happy. Seon's expression darkened slightly as he hesitantly asked, Has Hyunho gotten better yet? The woman chuckled at his question. Of course Hyunho is doing well. The doctor said the surgery was a success and they just need to monitor him. You know how strong Hyunho is. So even though it's going through a tough time right now, it will get through it. Clearly, the image of Hyunho slowly withering away in the hospital surrounded by tubes and ventilators didn't show any signs of life. Seon responded, but the hands holding the knife trembled, and bitter tears fell. It seemed that she couldn't endure it. When her child was in this condition, she could do nothing. Tears of anguish streamed down her face. She clenched the kimbap roll tightly, tears still falling. She wanted to destroy everything, just like the pain in her heart. The father of that man, she wanted to tear him apart. She slammed the table in fury and screamed. He just looked at her without saying a word. Gradually, she calmed down and turned toward him. I'm sorry, Seon. I'm so sorry. I know I shouldn't be like this. But when she turned around, he was no longer there. Looking at the leftover food on the table, she called out Sion. As dusk fell at a corporate headquarters, a voice echoed, "This is the third quarter financial summary for the company, sir." Byong raised his wine glass in praise. "Everyone, you've worked hard. The success of Byong today is thanks to the efforts of all of you." Standing on the balcony, he looked down at the company members seated below. He continued his speech. "We will not back down even if our parent company Dujang Construction goes bankrupt." At that moment, no one noticed a waiter approaching a table with a bottle of wine in hand. "Sir, would you like some more wine?" The man had barely spoken when the bottle of wine was smashed straight into his face. The room erupted in shock. Sion smirked as he watched the man crash to the floor, shards of glass scattered around him. Of course. Another man lunged at him. Sion grabbed 2 glass cups. "What the hell is wrong with this bastard?" As the man charged forward, Sion hurled the glasses precisely. The man's hands were trapped inside them. He stiffened, stunned. "Not bad at running away, huh?" Sion mocked. While the man was still dazed, Sion swung his leg for a devastating kick. Glass shards scattered, cutting into the man's face. Sion grabbed a knife and fork and moved forward. Glass shards scattered, cutting into the man's face. Sion grabbed a knife and fork and moved forward. Another man charged. "Get that blonde punk!" A fork flew through the air and struck him. One by one, those around him collapsed. The scene quickly descended into chaos. The others sprang to their feet. "What the hell? Turn on the lights!" When the lights came on, the floor was drenched in blood bodies sprawled across the room. The remaining men panicked. "Who did this?" "It was that blonde bastard. Find him. He can't have gone far." Byong-gu stood above his face dark, the blonde one, but no one noticed a hand gripping a knife slowly emerging from under a table. With murderous intent, Sion surveyed the room. "A good child of the morgue," he muttered. The first rule: a parent's words are absolute. In an instant, like a flash of lightning, he finished off the remaining men. He recalled Hyunho's mother, her voice trembling with pain. "I want to tear him apart." Blood stained Sion's sleeves and his small knife. He listened to the groans of the men around him. "My ankle," Sion quietly repeated. She said she wanted to tear them apart. More enemies charged at him. Sion swiftly grabbed a tablecloth, pulling everything off the table. The objects flew toward his attackers. As they struggled to recover, he kicked the table straight at them. "Damn it!" The table smashed into them, sending them crashing to the ground, groaning in pain. Suddenly, a knife flew toward Sion from behind. He reacted instantly, dodging it. The knife embedded itself in another man's forehead. Suddenly, there was a knife behind his back. Launch to react quickly. The knife was immediately thrown straight at the man. "Oh, you dodged that, not bad, but I'm sure I already broke that arm of yours." He adjusted his gloves and glared at Sion. "I'm sure I broke that hand. No matter. This time I'll—" Before he could finish, Sion lunged forward and grabbed his arm, slamming him to the ground. The assistant umbrella hand went down immediately after a straight to his face without waiting. Then with a cold voice he said, "Watch carefully. This is how you break an arm." A cracking sound echoed as his arm was swiftly broken. Assistant O screamed in pain. Sion watched as he collapsed to the ground, clutching his arm. A bullet suddenly whizzed past his hair. His sharp, murderous gaze shot upward. Byong stood on the upper floor holding a pistol aimed directly at him. He tilted his head and sneered, "Oh, it's harder to aim properly than I thought." Sion raised both hands calmly and replied, "Quite difficult to hit from that distance if you're not a professional." Byong-gu slowly descended, grinning wickedly. "Really, you seem to know quite a bit. So are you a professional kid? I've heard that kids in Korea like to play gangster games or something. Are you part of that too?" He continued approaching. Sion replied, "Gangster? I don't know anything about that. But if you're asking whether I have any connection to Hyunho Snack Shop..." Byong narrowed his eyes. "Hyunho Snack Shop, that cheap snack shop in that stinking alley. Oh, now I understand. So what did that woman tell you? Did she send you to kill me?" The cold muzzle of the gun pressed against Sion's forehead. Sion stared at him, filled with murderous intent, and replied, "No. She told me to tear you to pieces." Byong-gu's expression twisted. "What?" Seizing the moment of distraction, Sion acted. He disarmed Byong, knocking the gun away, then landed a powerful strike on him. Byong-gu grabbed onto Sion's collar to keep his balance and not fall. "You bastard, is this some kind of revenge?" "This isn't about revenge or retaliation," Sion said calmly. With a powerful punch, he struck Byung straight in the face, sending him crashing to the ground. Blood spurted from Byung's nose and a tooth flew out. Sion looked at him coldly. The first rule: parents' orders are absolute. Then he turned and left swiftly, leaving Byung lying on the floor. Byung-gu repeated, "Efficiency is the most important thing in this business. You don't get a second chance. I should have handled you and that woman properly back then. Next time I will kill all of you." Seon picked up the gun and pointed it upwards. "Why are you spouting such nonsense?" The third rule: if there's even a slight chance the parent is in danger, he fired a shot at the chandelier above. The massive light fixture crashed down onto the man lying below, shattering into pieces. Without looking back, Sion walked away. On his shoulder was a strange tattoo, his eyes devoid of emotion, exuding an eerie nonchalance. They're all the same. At the hospital, a nurse gently asked, "Patient, are you feeling any discomfort?" Joseph scowled. "You don't see it, damn it." The nurse continued chatting with him. "They say school violence is terrifying these days. This is the first time I've seen someone injured like this. I suppose the one who fought you must have been quite skilled. But still, this is a bit excessive." Joseph watched her fumble around and replied, "Yeah, it hurts a lot." The nurse picked up a syringe and looked at him. "But you know, earlier you and your father mentioned something about 3 absolute rules." Joseph stared at the liquid dripping from his IV bag as the nurse injected it. His voice trembled. "What is this medicine? The color looks weird." The nurse lowered her mask and replied, "Oh, you don't need to worry. You won't die, as long as I only use half." Her face darkened with a menacing expression. "Do you even know what the 3 absolute rules are?" Joseph, terrified, tried to back away. I don't know." The nurse removed her wig, her voice chilling. "You mentioned them to your father earlier, didn't you? Or should I rephrase the question?" Chapter 3. Rachel made a phone call to report information about the problematic director. She looked at the bodies sprawled across the ground, codename Sean had used force. The morgue director confirmed in shock he used force. "What are you talking about?" Rachel glanced around and stepped on one of the fallen men. "We tracked Sean and arrived at the scene, but he had already escaped. Moreover, there are a lot of injured grown men here. Even if it's Sean, he couldn't have done this alone because of the 3 absolute principles." The director stammered. "This is absurd. This has never happened in our morgue's history. That's why it's called the 3 absolute principles." He walked toward the bookshelf and grabbed a latch. "Rachel, if Sean broke the 3 absolute principles, then something is definitely wrong." Books tumbled down from the shelf, revealing pictures of children marked with red ink. The director was still shaken. "The weapons we sell in this morgue, they might ignore our orders and turn against us. Rachel, we need to shift our investigation to Sean first." He pressed a button marking Sean as missing in the system. "Keep a close watch on him and find out if he really used force without permission." Rachel agreed. "Understood." At that moment, the sound of polished leather shoes echoed through the room. The director continued, "If you need any help in South Korea, you can contact the White Fox personnel." A tall man took a drag from his cigarette and scanned the scene. What the hell? This mess was caused by some high school kid. Another man holding a hairbrush slicked back his hair. "Yeah, handling this situation is gonna make me lose all my hair." Rachel walked toward them while still on her call. "Yes, I've found the smoking guy and the bald one. I'll keep an eye on Sean once I leave the scene." The bald man scoffed. "I only heard the word bald. What am I supposed to do with that?" Rachel ignored them and walked away. The smoking man frowned. "Kids these days call this fashion?" The bald man shrugged. "They say she's Russian and they're pretty open-minded. My wife is too." He then glanced around. "By the way, why is the director always out at this hour? Is he still dealing with menopause?" Well, the boss assigned him to another job. At the entrance of a high school, Rachel took on a new identity, Sean. "I've completed a preliminary investigation on you. You're a high school student here, and your parents are overseas, at least on paper." She walked down the hallway, greeting students who nodded at her. "Good morning, ma'am." She responded with a smile. Good morning, while still analyzing the information in her mind, but those so-called parents are just imposters. No real identity. Codename Sean. What exactly are you doing here? I'll dig everything up. I can't wait to see how you turn out. A twisted smile formed on her lips as she recalled a time from the past when she had trained Sean. "Sean, you're the best student I've ever taught. You mastered all the weapons I showed you perfectly. I can't believe you abandoned a mission like that. She paused in front of a classroom. This is it, Sean's classroom. Inside, Sean was acting like a boss in front of his friends. I told you that bastard Joseph did it. Sean clasped his hands together with an exaggerated grimace. I'm sorry, it's all my fault. Rachel's eyes widened. That's Sean. The arrogant, reckless kid from before is really Sean. Sean continued joking. That's why I told him, Joseph, don't be cocky or you'll end up dead. The guy next to him was visibly annoyed. Shut the hell up, man. You talk too much. Let me sleep. Sean's face darkened as he glared at the guy. What did you just say? Damn it! The guy cursed and the two of them started staring each other down. Rachel observed from the sidelines. Wait. Could this be a ranking battle? There had been incidents like this before in the morgue, a fight breaking out to establish hierarchy. It was quite amusing because they even tried to fight her, too. Yes, with everything she had seen, Sean was always the strongest, but as soon as that thought ended, she saw Sean lying on the ground, curled up after being beaten to a pulp. Rachel couldn't believe what had just happened. He was supposed to be the strongest. What just happened? Then the guy stomped on Sean's arm. Sean cried out in pain. Wait, I said I'm sorry, okay? You hit my bone. Watching this unfold, Rachel was at a loss for words. Class began. Rachel continued her role as a teacher. All right, let's look at passage number 2, she instructed. Here, the narrator was Rachel. As she taught, she analyzed Sean's actions. Yes, this was school. He couldn't show his strength here if he wanted to keep his identity hidden. Then wasn't he still affected by the 3 absolute principles? She needed to observe him more. At that moment, she noticed Sean fidgeting with his pen, staring intently at his notebook. Rachel felt like she had caught onto something, that look in his eyes, the look of focus. Yes, she knew it. He was different. At that moment, Sean glanced in her direction, and Rachel's memories flooded back. Back then, the talented children weren't just strong, they were smart too. Sean was always the most outstanding. He might be able to hide his strength, but he couldn't hide his talent. Rachel walked closer to him and continued lecturing. She smirked deep in thought as she glanced at him. Such a nuisance. You should try harder to conceal yourself if you don't want to be found out. When there's time, I'll teach you. But what Rachel thought Sean was focusing on turned out to be doodles in his notebook. And he seemed to be quite enjoying them. She was speechless. Then a book smacked him on the head, followed by her angry shout, "What do you think you're doing? This is class time!" In the teacher's restroom. Rachel sat in frustration, covering her face. No way. Sean is Sean. There's no way that idiot could be him. She was so angry that she tore apart her disguise. She bit her nails anxiously. Something was off. Their faces matched perfectly, but she couldn't sense even a shred of intelligence from him. Could it all just be a coincidence? No way that immature brat couldn't possibly be Sean. Change of plans. Rachel stood up abruptly, tied her hair back, and disguised herself once again. This wasn't about protecting the 3 absolute principles anymore. She had to confirm whether that guy was really Sean. Moments later, she had transformed into a schoolgirl and dashed out of the restroom. At the crosswalk, Sean rubbed his head. That teacher never hit that hard before. He didn't notice Rachel following behind him, her face full of murderous intent. If you're not Sean, I'll kill you, brat. Just then a voice called out to him, Sean, where are you going? He turned to see a woman struggling with large shopping bags. It was Hyunho's mother. She smiled warmly. We meet again. You came at the right time. Can you help me carry these? Sean approached her. Of course, ma'am. Let me help you. She smiled. Thank you, Sean. I'll treat you to tteokbokki when we get home. At a Korean street food stall, Sean devoured the skewered snacks drenched in spicy sauce. The woman watched him with a wry smile. Goodness, slow down. Rachel, sitting nearby, decided to try one as well. Sean obediently nodded. Yes, ma'am. Rachel silently observed the woman she had heard about her from Joseph. He had put this woman's son into a coma. Then what was Sean's relationship with her? Rachel watched him eat like a starving animal, absolutely disgraceful. She cursed under her breath. How crude. The more I look at him, the more vulgar he seems. Could he really not be Sean? How could someone make such crude expressions with Sean's face? Frustrated. Rachel took a bite of fish cake, only to immediately choke. Her face turned red, her eyes filled with tears as she stuck her tongue out from the unbearable spiciness. Water. Give me water. The woman handed her a bottle. Here, drink this. You're not good with spicy food, are you? Rachel gulped down a large mouthful. Sweat poured down her face. No way! This is torture! Do people actually eat this? These crazy Koreans. This should be considered poison. No assassination. Sean, seeing her struggle, offered a word of advice. You should eat more slowly. You're really clumsy. She glared at him. I swear I'll kill you, you bastard. Then she suddenly recalled something. Sean also couldn't handle spicy food. She used to hold his hand whenever he ate spicy food. It must have been hard for him to live in Korea. At that moment, Rachel noticed his trembling hand. She looked at him curiously. The woman asked Sean, Is it good? He flashed a bright smile. Yes, it's delicious. Rachel stared at him, confused. This idiot. Is he forcing himself? What an absolute fool. If you don't like it, then don't eat it. Why are you forcing yourself to swallow everything? She took another sip of water. Rachel kept cursing under her breath. Don't eat if you find it hard to eat. And then, as if realizing something, she recalled. Wait a minute. When Sion helped his mother was carrying things, and then when she just brought him home to eat, this kid listened to everything. This kid heard everything she said. And now she's asking Sion again. Sion, can you carry this? He gladly agreed. Yes. As if she had grasped the key point, she focused on Sion. He followed orders. Even when he fought those men, even if it had been Sean himself, he wouldn't have done it without an order. That was because of the 3 absolute principles. That's right, absolute principle number 1. A parent's word is law. It's absurd that he did all those things without someone ordering him to. But what if someone had ordered him? What if someone had told Sean to destroy the Byung facility? And the only person who could have done that was this woman. This lady has absolute principles, number 1 word. Yes. Sion recognized this woman as his mother and obeyed everything she said. If that assumption was correct, then everything became clear. She handed over the money here to pay. The woman took the money and looked at her. Hold on. Let me find your change. While the woman was fumbling to find the right amount, Rachel suddenly grabbed a sharp skewer. There was a simple way to confirm this immediately. She threw the skewer straight at the woman, but in an instant the skewer was deflected by a fork. Sion had thrown the fork to block the attack, his face dark with fury. Rachel's excitement grew as she realized she was stepping into danger. As expected, the chair toppled over, causing the woman to flinch in panic. But when she looked up, no one was there. Sion girl, you forgot to take your change. Somewhere else. Rachel gripped the skewer, her eyes wild as she stared at Sion. Absolute principle number 3. For a good child, if anything threatens a parent's life, ignore all principles and handle the situation. The skewer left a scratch on his face. Rachel blocked his punch. Sion clenched her wrists tightly, shouting, Stop it. Are you planning to follow me all day? Sion furrowed his brows, looking at her while Rachel's smile only deepened. She lifted her gaze to meet his. So it really is you, Sean. It's been a long time. Chapter 4. Sion was still glaring at her with dagger-like eyes when she suddenly spoke up, puzzled. That's weird. Why are you following an old lady at a street snack stall as if she were your mother? No way could a shabby snack vendor be your client. But Sion coldly responded, What I don't understand what you're talking about. He silently thought to himself, I've caused a big commotion, but I didn't expect to be found out this quickly. Whatever she said as she suddenly flipped him onto the ground like a wrestler. While Sion was lost in thought, Rachel had already made her move. Rachel reached out lightly, tapping him, and whispered, Come back. She gazed at him with an almost obsessive glint in her eyes and said softly, There are a lot of customers waiting for you. At that moment, a flood of childhood memories rushed back into Sion's mind. He was just a little boy back then, yet he had single-handedly wiped out all his enemies. Remembering that, he thought, Come back to that place. A gentle hand touched his bloodied face, and a weak voice whispered, Back, Sion. With a soft voice, the man said, From now on, that is your name. In front of him was a man with long disheveled hair barely clinging to life. Back in the present, Sion's eyes shot open as he stammered, That memory just now. What was that? Rachel tilted her head. What are you talking about? Sion's eyes darkened with fury, his brows knitted together. Then, in a flash, he lunged forward. With a brutal headbutt, he slammed his forehead into Rachel's chin. The impact was so strong that Rachel was sent stumbling backward. She clutched her mouth, which was now bleeding, and groaned. Sion stood over her, breath heavy. Rachel looked up, her eyes wide and blank. Blood dripped down from her nose as she spoke. "So, you're not planning to return quietly, huh?" But before she could say more, he was already gone. At that moment, Sion was dashing through a dark alleyway trying to escape. As he ran, he cursed under his breath. "Damn it! I can't believe they sent Rachel after me." Suddenly, he recalled the face that had named him when he was young. Sion was utterly confused. Who was that? Inside the morgue, a loud scream echoed. "What did you just say?" The director of the morgue shouted angrily into the phone. "You lost track of him? What do you mean?" Rachel was rushing into a public restroom, so hurried that she cut in front of others. She quickly apologized. "I'm sorry. I let my guard down in the restroom." While changing her clothes, she continued speaking to the director, "But I found the old woman who's controlling him with the 3 principles." The director, flustered, yelled back, "What, are you serious?" Rachel, taking off her school uniform shirt, responded, "From what I observed, Sion seems to consider that woman his mother." The director stroked his chin in deep thought. "So he's following the orders of the old woman he believes to be his mother. Is that really true?" Then he asked, "Did that old woman seem to be intentionally using the 3 principles?" Rachel, peeling off a layer of her facial mask, replied, "I need more information, but for now, it doesn't seem like it." The director of the morgue immediately made a decision. Rachel, investigate that woman first. As Rachel opened the restroom door, the middle-aged woman she had shoved aside earlier stood there shouting furiously, "There she is, that young woman who cut in line." But to her surprise, the person who emerged was not the same Rachel from before. It was an elegant, noble-looking lady. She had completely transformed her appearance. The middle-aged woman stood there bewildered, wondering, wasn't she much younger just a moment ago? Meanwhile, at the morgue, the director was revealing a crucial piece of information. There are 2 ways to take a well-behaved child away from their parents. At the same time, Hyunho's mother, startled, asked, "Huh, what do you mean?" Rachel, now in the form of a refined lady, adjusted her glasses and coldly said, "I mean, stay away from Sion." She entered a restaurant, ordered a meal, and casually recounted the situation while mocking the dishes Hyunho's mother had made. "Since I'm always busy traveling for work, I couldn't pay much attention to him. But I never expected that a kid who can't eat spicy food would be eating this low-quality meal. As his mother, I'm heartbroken." Hearing this, Hyunho's mother lowered her head, murmuring in sadness, "Sion can't eat spicy food. I understand now." The director's plan was revealed. The first way to take a well-behaved child from their parents is... Rachel, noticing the woman's expression, felt completely satisfied. "That's right. Feel guilty, old woman. How dare you call yourself Sion's mother? Make the parents willingly give up their child." Rachel stood up and delivered her final warning. "I know Sion listens to you, but as an adult, you have to take responsibility." She placed a hand on Hyunho's mother's shoulder and instructed, "So if Sion appears again, tell him the director of the morgue demands his return." She tightened her grip slightly. "Don't come back here anymore. Go home, be confident, and tell him that." Then she turned to leave. "I'll assume you understand what I mean. I'm leaving now." But at that moment, Hyunho's mother spoke up in protest. "No, I won't do that." Then she asked, "You said you're always busy traveling for work, right?" Rachel frowned in irritation. "Are you trying to pry into my business?" Hyunho's mother simply lowered her head and asked, her voice trembling with emotion, "Have you ever looked at Sion's clothes carefully?" She continued, "Do you even know what his life at school is like?" Rachel, of course, had no idea. Hyunho's mother recalled a past conversation with Sion. He always wore shabby clothes, his face was dirty. Whenever I asked him, he just said he had fallen somewhere. Clenching her apron tightly, she choked up. I actually believed him. I thought he was just growing up like any other child. A single tear rolled down her cheek. She then remembered her late son and continued, "My husband used to say, he just fell, that's all. I won't let Sion end up the same way." She recalled the first time she met Sion, a scruffy, rebellious student. But he was the only one who helped her carry heavy groceries while waiting at a traffic light. Thinking back, she realized at some point I just started taking care of him. She clenched her fists, trembling. With a mother's instinct, she showed no hesitation or fear as she shouted decisively, Sion needs someone to take care of him right now. I can't let him end up like Hyunho. She turned to Rachel and said, "If you're busy, I'll take care of him myself." Rachel, now furious, pointed a finger at the old woman and snapped, "You old hag, who do you think you are to say you'll take care of him?" Hyunho's mother simply bowed deeply at a 90-degree angle and said humbly, "I'm sorry, but I cannot comply with your request." Rachel, trembling with rage, clenched her fist. Scene transition to a hospital. Rachel's voice could be heard reporting to her superior director, "The first attempt has failed." She had stripped away all disguises and presented the situation clearly. "That old woman is more stubborn than I thought. She insists on taking care of him." On the other hand, the director lowered his glasses slightly and said in a deep voice, "Then there's no other choice. I wanted to settle this quietly." He gave the order, "Proceed with Plan B." The person on the other end immediately responded, "Understood. I'll carry it out." Rachel then ripped off the white tank top she was wearing, revealing her tight combat suit. The second way to take a well-behaved child from its parents. If the parents die, the child will have no choice but to return to the morgue. Rachel, now dressed for action, made a call to her subordinates. "Target the old woman. I'll take care of her myself." Plan B was revealed. A new day began at a supermarket. Rachel had been tailing Hyunho's mother for a while. She pulled out a remote switch, staring at the old woman with hatred. "Who do you think you are to take Sion from me?" She pressed the button. Immediately, the supermarket's electrical system underwent a sudden change. A second later, an explosion erupted in one corner of the supermarket, igniting a raging fire. The fire suppression system activated, spraying water everywhere. People screamed, "What's happening?" Hyunho's mother turned to look at the chaos in confusion, unaware that Rachel was standing behind her, aiming a gun at her back. In a cold, merciless voice, Rachel declared, "You will never be Sion's mother. I won't allow it." Just as she pulled the trigger, a young man lunged forward and blocked the bullet with a frying pan. It was Sion. The bullet hole in the pan still smoked. Seeing him, Rachel smiled and called out Sion. Sion examined the deformed frying pan, then muttered, "I saw this trick in a game once. Turns out, it actually works." Without hesitation, he tossed the pan aside and strode toward Rachel. "I knew you'd try something like this." He narrowed his eyes at her. "Bombs and guns. Don't you think that's a bit much?" Rachel's expression remained cold. "Stay out of this, Sion." She then aimed her gun at Hyunho's mother again and said, "I'll set you free from that old woman." Sion sprinted forward, yelling, "I won't let that happen." Rachel immediately turned and ran in the opposite direction. As she hid behind a shelf, Sion's voice rang out, "The three principles." A man suddenly appeared and kicked the gun out of Rachel's hand before she could react. "You already know what I mean, don't you?" Rachel pulled out a knife and said, "I really wanted to bring you back without hurting you." She swung her blade at Sion's stomach. At that moment, only one thing could be seen, a crimson liquid dripping onto the floor beneath him. It turned out Rachel had only stabbed a ketchup box that he had prepared beforehand. He wasn't weak at all, threatening, "Don't underestimate me, Rachel." When he raised his knee to strike, Rachel swiftly dodged arrogantly, saying, "Do you think you can defeat me?" She swept his leg, saying, "Haven't I already taught you?" Sion immediately fell backward heavily onto the floor. Rachel continued, "You must know the meaning behind a fight." Rachel stared straight at him and asked, "Tell me, what is the meaning of this fight?" Meanwhile, Hyunho's mother was looking around, wondering what was happening. Suddenly, a lonely boy burst into tears. This pitiful boy knelt down, crying loudly. "Mom, where are you?" Hyunho's mother hurriedly approached, anxiously asking, "Are you all right, little boy? Have you lost your mother?" The boy turned, eyes filled with tears, saying, "I don't know where my mommy." He quickly begged, "Please help me." It turned out this boy was Eden behind him, his hand holding a knife. Rachel said, "It's time for class," then she pedaled. One foot on the iron bar, looking at him with 1 foot, eyes flashed and said, "Now tell me, listen, what this battle means." Sion silently thought the meaning of this fight. Without hesitation, Rachel thrust her knife straight at him, but luckily he dodged. Sion quickly stepped back while Rachel aimed the knife and continued slashing at him. He was trying to block Rachel from stabbing his face and ask her plan. In that moment, she revealed, "This is a plan to set you free." He froze and a thought flashed through his mind. Could it be? While Sion was distracted, Rachel quickly switched the knife from one hand to the other and warned, "You shouldn't lose focus in a fight." She then suddenly thrust the knife forcefully toward him, but once again he barely dodged in time. Sion lost his balance and fell backward. He grabbed 2 ketchup boxes and muttered, "Fighting Rachel one-on-one is too much for me." He threw both ketchup boxes at Rachel, but she swiftly knocked them away with her elbow and stated, "Once I take care of that old woman, you'll return to working under the mortuary." Rachel excitedly approached and said, "Now let's go home together, Sion." Then she declared as if it was the most natural thing in the world, "Because you all are products of the mortuary. Products." Hearing those words, Sion lowered his head and coldly whispered, "Products." He threw a bag of flour at Rachel, as she charged forward cheerfully saying, "Now let's go home together." Her knife accidentally slashed the bag of flour. Immediately, the flour burst into the air, filling the space and blocking Rachel's vision. She had to shield her face, to prevent the flour from getting into her eyes and nose. Rachel covered her mouth and cursed, "Damn it, flour." Suddenly, from within the thick cloud of flour, a hand holding a pair of scissors aimed straight at her, but just barely missed her shoulder. As the flour gradually settled, Sion could be seen wielding 2 pairs of scissors, preparing to attack Rachel. She swung her knife toward him, but he quickly pulled back and dodged. Seeing that Sion was finally fighting back, Rachel smirked with twisted satisfaction and said, "Yes, Sion, that's the Sion I know." Both of them clashed weapons, colliding as his scissors locked against her knife. Rachel pushed against him with all her strength, but couldn't move him. She glanced down at their weapons in shock, thinking, "It's not even budging." Sion suddenly bent down and grabbed Rachel's waist at lightning speed, saying, "You call us products." Then he slammed her to the ground. Rachel was thrown onto a metal cart. She turned to Sion, gritting her teeth in frustration. Sion spoke with a mocking tone. "What a place where my family is waiting for me." Standing behind her, his face emotionless, he stated, "No one calls their family." Then, using his foot, he forcefully pushed the cart away and finished products right. The cart carrying Rachel sped forward and crashed into a stack of other carts. Sion walked over and locked her cart to the others. After securing her, he turned his back and walked away, saying, "Speaking of products, aren't you more of a product than us?" Trapped inside the cart, Rachel could only scream his name. As he left, Rachel reached out desperately, calling Sion. At this moment, on Hyunho's mother's side, she was concerned about a boy who had lost his mother without realizing the kid had hidden a knife behind him, ready to attack her. Hyunho's mother anxiously exclaimed, "Oh dear, are you all right, little one?" She quickly glanced around, searching, asking herself, "Your parents aren't here." And at that moment, Eden swung the knife toward her. Before the knife could strike, Sion suddenly rushed in, shouting in worry, "Mom, are you okay?" Hyunho's mother turned around, surprised, Sion. As soon as she saw her son, she immediately questioned, "Aren't you supposed to be in class right now? What happened to your clothes? Are you hurt again?" Eden looked at him and thought to himself, "That face. For sure." At that moment, he quickly hid the knife behind his back, looking. Sion, standing right before him, was gradually becoming clear in his vision. He recognized him as the legendary figure of the mortuary. Eden suddenly realized if Sion was here, did that mean Rachel had been defeated? Sion finally turned his attention to Eden and asked his mother, "Who is this child?" She responded, "He said he lost his mother. We have to get him out of here first." Sion knelt down and asked, "Eden kid, do you remember your parents' phone number?" The boy, still pretending to cry, suddenly looked up in surprise. "Phone number?